You ever wonder if some of those old herbal remedies actually work? Like really work? Well, today we're diving into the science behind a traditional African spice that is showing some incredible promise. We're talking about a potential new way to treat both pain and depression.
And you might be thinking, wait, don't we have tons of medicines for this stuff already? And yeah, that's a fair question. I mean, you walk down any pharmacy aisle and it's just packed. But here's the thing. Our current options, they're far from perfect. Millions of people are still really struggling to find relief. And that's exactly why scientists are starting to look in some pretty unexpected places for answers.
Okay, so before we get to the cool new stuff, let's just quickly touch on why we're even having this conversation. What are the big limitations with the medicines we already have for pain and depression?
All right, so the challenges are pretty clear when you lay them out. For starters, a lot of common painkillers, they come with some really nasty side effects, especially if you're taking them for a long time. Then you have opioids, which can lead to tolerance, where you need more and more just to get the same relief. And on the mental health side of things, it's pretty staggering. Up to 40% of people with depression just don't respond to the therapies we have right now. So naturally, people look for alternatives, like herbal remedies. But, and this is a big but, mixing those with prescription drugs without knowing what you're doing, that can be seriously dangerous.
And that is exactly where our story takes a turn. We're leaving the modern lab and heading deep into the rainforests of tropical Africa, where traditional healers have been using this one powerful natural remedy for literally centuries. So, say hello to Exalopia aethiopica, also known as African pepper or Ethiopian pepper. And let me tell you, this is not just something you sprinkle on your food. The dried fruits from this plant have this long, rich history as a cornerstone of traditional medicine all across West Africa.
I mean, its traditional uses were just incredibly broad. It was basically the go-to remedy for all sorts of painful stuff. We're talking rheumatism, headaches, even that sharp shooting nerve pain. And it's that amazing track record that really made modern scientists sit up and say, okay, we need to take a closer look at this.
So this brings up a huge question, right? How do you take all this traditional knowledge passed down for centuries and actually see if it holds up under the rigorous microscope of modern science? Well, that is exactly what a team of researchers decided to find out.
Yeah, a team of researchers in Ghana basically took up the challenge. They looked at all these traditional claims about African pepper and said, all right, let's design some serious, rigorous experiments and put this to the test.
Okay, so first things first, they had to figure out what was actually in this stuff. They basically created a chemical fingerprint of the fruit using a technique called chromatography. Think of it like this. They took the whole fruit extract, that's the complex mixture you see on the left, and they separated out all its individual parts. And what they found was one main standout ingredient. That single clean peak on the right, that's a compound called xylopic acid.
So now that they knew what they were working with, it was time to see if it actually relieved pain. The process was pretty straightforward. They took some mice and gave them one of three things: the whole extract, just that isolated xylopic acid, or a placebo. Then they used this standard method called the writhing test, which just induces a temporary, mild discomfort. And they watched and carefully scored the animal's behavior to see how much pain relief they were getting.
And the results? Wow, they were pretty remarkable. I mean, this chart really says it all. The first bar, that's the control group. They had a high pain score, just like you'd expect. But then look at the next two bars. Both the whole extract and the pure xylopic acid just massively reduced those pain behaviors. It was really happening. The traditional knowledge was holding up under scientific testing.
Actually, massively might be an understatement. Get this. The highest dose of the whole fruit extract, it reduced the pain behaviors in the mice by an incredible 98.8%, almost 99%. That is a level of effectiveness that you just can't ignore.
But believe it or not, the story doesn't end there, not even close. As the scientists kept digging, they stumbled onto something else, a completely unexpected benefit that might be just as big a deal as the pain relief. And to understand why this next part matters so much, we have to remember the stakes. I mean, depression is a global health crisis. We're talking about an estimated 350 million people affected worldwide, and it's implicated in up to 60% of all suicides. This is a battle we desperately need new tools for.
And then, unbelievably, in further tests, the scientists discovered that this stuff, both the whole extract and the xylopic acid, also had significant antidepressant-like effects. Can you believe that? This ancient pain remedy was also acting like a potential mood booster.
So of course, this discovery opened up a whole new can of worms, a really fascinating new question. What happens if you try to combine this natural compound with the conventional antidepressants that are already on the market?
Now, to really get what happened next, we need to talk about this concept called pharmacodynamic synergy. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's basically the idea that sometimes when you combine two things, you get an effect that's way bigger than what you'd expect. It's the classic 1 + 1 = 3 scenario. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what happened here. When they combined the African pepper extract with common antidepressants, they found this powerful synergistic effect. The combo was way more effective at reducing depressive behaviors than either drug was on its own. A huge win, right?
Well, this is where things get really, really interesting. And it shows exactly why this kind of research is so critical. Because on one hand, you have this amazing synergy, this big boost to the antidepressant effect. But on the other hand, the researchers discovered a huge complication. The extract was actually making it harder for the body to absorb one of the conventional drugs.
And this chart just lays it out perfectly. It shows how much of the antidepressant, imipramine, actually gets into the system. Taken by itself, you get 100% absorption. But when you take it with the African pepper extract, look at that, it drops all the way down to 62%. That's a nearly 40% reduction. It means way less of the medicine is actually getting into your bloodstream where it can do its job. And really, this brings us to the single most important takeaway of this whole story. Natural does not mean simple, and it definitely doesn't automatically mean safe to mix. This super complex interaction is proof positive that we have to study these natural remedies with the exact same scientific rigor that we apply to any pharmaceutical drug, because they have powerful, real-world effects that can be amazing, but also really problematic.
So this whole journey, from an ancient spice to a really complex pharmacological agent, it's just such a powerful reminder of all the potential that's still hidden out there in nature. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other ancient remedies are just waiting for their scientific close-up, ready for us to finally unlock their secrets?